Whether you're a beginner or a more experienced hand spinner, spinning a range of different fibres is a great way to improve your overall skills. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing spinning a slightly unusual fibre, and that is Himalayan nettle fibre. If you're new here, my name is Becca. I'm a hand spinner, natural dyer and newbie weaver, and you're very welcome to the channel. Okay, well, I'm out on a walk, so I'm going to finish my walk, go back to the house and get the nettle fibre out. Well, hello and welcome back to the slightly echoey conservatory here in my bijou bungalow in West Wales. It is raining and it's quite noisy on the roof, so I hope you can hear what I'm going to say. Now, when we were out on a walk, I was talking about the fact that if you spin a variety of fibres, I think it really helps to improve your hand spinning. And I certainly notice myself that having spun quite a lot of new fibres to me and actually put them on YouTube, how much my hand spinning has improved. And last week, if you were watching the channel, I had a go at spinning Himalayan nettle fibre top for the very first time. And it was quite a lot different from the way I expected it to be. And so this is sort of a part two, because since then I have spun a bobbin worth of fibre, and I've got another one to spin, and I've learnt quite a lot. So I thought I would just update you with the way I've changed what I was doing from my first video. So since my last video, I've been doing some experimenting. And the method that I've come up with that I think kind of works pretty well, and I think you could definitely have a go at this, is to make little mini rolags. And I have been making them on my wool cards and a dowel. This is the dowel I use for my blending board. Now, when you are preparing cotton to spin, you normally use flat cards, but as you can see, these are curved because they're for wool. However, I persevered, and this is all I've got, so that's what I'm going to use. And I think the results are kind of okay. I filmed that, so I'll just drop that footage in so you can see exactly what I did. It is extremely difficult to film yourself and do this when you can't actually see what you're filming. So I've got a couple of different angles, and hopefully you'll kind of get the method I was using. If you know a kind of different method, if you can suggest something that you think might work better, then please put it in the comments, because this is kind of all about exploring and learning from each other. So see you in a moment. So what I've been doing is I've just been sort of doing that and just sort of laying the fibres on. They don't really want to cooperate, not overloading them, and then just giving them a bit of a card. And I keep hitting the legs of the tripod, so I hope you're not wobbling about all over the place. And I also can't see whether this is in shot, so I'm kind of doing it at a slightly weird angle. So there we go. And then taking my dowel and just rolling them. So I've changed the camera angle slightly, hoping that you're going to be able to see what I'm doing better. But you can kind of see how very fine and fluffy and sort of airborne all this fibre is becoming. And by putting in these by putting them in these little mini rolags. I think that's probably a bit too many, so I'm going to put a bit more fibre on there. So by putting them on, by putting them in these little mini rolags, I'm sort of taming that fibre a little bit. Have I got enough? Yeah, I think so. So I've just watched that footage back and I think you can see what I'm doing okay, which is always a good bonus when you're making a YouTube video, I find. So anyway, I'm going to carry on doing that process, then come back to you and we'll sit at the spinning wheel and I'll just show you the experiments I've been doing and sort of how I worked out how to spin them. So I'll see you in a little bit. I have returned from the supermarket and I've set myself up for spinning. And down here, I have a little bowl of water to just wet my front fingers because that really helped the last time I was spinning. I have a little table down here with my teeny tiny rolags on and wheel down here. So the last time, as I said, I was spinning short forward draw with a very, very tiny little drafting triangle. What I'm now going to do is attempt to do more of a sort of backwards draw, a sort of supported long draw, I think. That's sort of what I worked out I was doing when I was kind of getting into the rhythm when I was doing my test spin. I've got one single already spun up where I was doing all my experimenting. So I'm going to do another single where I'm literally just going to do this kind of technique that I sort of worked out was working best for me. Ply it, finish it, and hopefully at the end of the video we'll have some nice yarn to look at. Right, so when I was out for my walk thinking about spinning nettle fibres, I was thinking that a worsted spin would be good for a sewing thread, but if I was gonna make a sewing thread I would need a smaller whirl so I could get a finer spin. So, you know, I think I might have to actually bite the bullet and get a faster whirl for old Geraldine. Right, okay, so I'm going to wet my front fingers and I am spinning anti-clockwise or counterclockwise or S. And there is anecdotal evidence, so not empirical evidence. No one's done, oh, that didn't work, did it? No one's done sort of great amount of research on it. But from the historical record and archaeological records, it seems that quite often nettle fibre was spun anti-clockwise. And the reason seems to be that there is a slight bias because of the way that the nettles grow, and that when they are growing and following the sun, they are going clockwise. So in order to not have a bias in your spinning, you should spin anti-clockwise. Okay, so this is sort of what I was doing, and it was kind of working, and then every so often it wasn't working. So I haven't altered the tension since I did this, but it has got quite a lot damper, so I'm going to turn the tension down and see if I can do that without snapping it. Okay, so, I'm locking up the fibres. I'm treadling too fast. I haven't got the rhythm yet. It's really amazing the difference that the amount of moisture in the air makes to a wooden spinning wheel. I think if you spin on a, what are they called? Like the electric spinning wheels that are made out of, that are 3D printed, I think you're not going to get the same kind of difference, and probably you're going to be able to set your tension and not have to fiddle around with it too much. But wooden spinning wheels do really shift and move depending on the moisture. So I'm nearly getting it. So after much sort of thought and messing about, this is kind of what I thought was the best way of spinning this. Now, of course, I would always encourage you to do your own experimenting and find what works for you. Now, I am really not a spindle spinner, so I think spindle spinners might have, quite a different way of spinning. And every time I see nettle fibre being demonstrated anywhere, it is being spun on a spindle. So this is much, much quicker than the sort of inchworming along short forward draw that I was doing when I was spinning that sample. But I think that has its place. I think for a warp thread or for sewing thread, I think that's a good option. Now, I don't have a particularly fast whirl on this, as I've said, so I think if I had a faster whirl, I would get something really, really fine, because it seems to hold together quite nicely. It's very strong stuff, and particularly when it's damp. But I know I've seen people, when they warp up a loom with linen, they actually put a little bit of kind of misty water spray in the air just to have a bit of dampness in their warp threads, and it makes them really strong and they just don't snap. And I suspect that this is a bit like that as well. I mean, I really don't know, because I don't spin linen. As I've said many times, I've spun an awful lot of wool in my life, and I've mostly spun sort of Jacob and Llyn, because that's what my friends kept, so I had access to them. Over the last few years, I have branched out a bit, and since I've had the channel, I've branched out even more, and it's been great fun. And I am really enjoying the whole kind of process of sharing these different spins with you. As I say, as I keep demonstrating, snapping it, I have not got this down absolutely perfect, but it is definitely coming on. So I think for a lot of us, it's not particularly practical to go out and forage for our own nettle fibres and start retting them and processing them and all sorts of things. I definitely want to try it, but I don't think it's something I'd want to do long term. In the same way I don't want to keep sheep, I don't think I want to be a harvester and processor of nettle fibre. I think I want to explore many more plant fibres. And I've really enjoyed kind of making my tea towels and my dishcloths on my rigid heddle loom with the thrifted cotton. But what I love even more is using my own hand-spun yarn on my rigid heddle loom. So where was weaving all my life? All that time I thought I was a knitter, when in fact I think I'm a weaver. So there you go. I'm definitely not a crocheter. Really confuses me, crochet. I don't know why it confuses me so much, but I just can't get it. And trust me, I've tried, and I've had people try and teach me, and it just doesn't click. I don't know what it is. So another thing I asked about, oopsie, sorry, concentrate. Oh dear, right, concentrate, Rebecca. Another thing I asked in the comments was about how widespread nettles were. And as I suspected, anywhere where there were European settlers stroke imperial occupiers, then European nettles seem to have gone with them. And a lot of places had their own version of a stinging nettle. And a couple of people were telling me about the New Zealand nettle, which is very, very stingy and, can kind of put you in anaphylactic shock. So I was like, yeah, okay. But of course, Europeans brought their weeds with them, and nettles being one of them. Are Himalayan nettle fibres, and Himalayan nettles are a bit different from Northern European nettles. And I think they're kind of much bigger plants from what I understand. Now, I have been going out to my various patches of nettles that I had thought I would do my experiment on, sort of how to process it. And I've been watching lots and lots of Sally Pointer's videos and other people's videos on how to process the nettle fibre. And I don't think that the nettles I'd spied out are big enough. Now, one of the things about the soils around here is that they're sandy because we're on the coast and we have quite high rainfall in the winter. So any nutrients in the soil does tend to get very washed away. And nettles love a rich soil, and they generally grow where there's human habitation because they're kind of, not to put too fine a point on it, they like where there is sort of manure and compost and kind of things like that. And I was looking this morning at the nettle patch that I'd sort of spied in some other woods where I was walking this morning with the dog. And I was looking at it, I was thinking, you know what, they're just not very big. I don't think I'm going to be very successful getting fibres out of those. But as I have said, I will attempt to do it for no other reason than just to sort of satisfy myself that it is possible. A couple of people said that British nettles, or they had heard that British nettles don't make very good fibre. I don't think that's true because the guy who made the nettle dress is in West Sussex, I think, which is most definitely in Britain. But I think you need big nettles. And if you're somewhere where the nettles don't grow very big, I mean, we do have nettles, it's just not very big, then maybe it's going to be a little more challenging. Oh dear, Geraldine, you're being a bit clattery today. Honestly, I think that's the amount of moisture there is in the air. And of course, I'm also adding moisture because I'm working with damp fingers. So yeah, I think she's complaining a little bit. Right, let's have a look at the tension because I've not had a look at the tension. This is so weird, spinning the wrong way, because I really haven't had a look at the tension. But yeah, that's going to be fine. I mean, when I first started spinning it, I thought this is going to need a lot of twist, and it does need a lot of twist. And I think, having sort of had quite a lot of people give me some good advice about weaving and doing a bit of research, I just don't think weaving with singles is a cunning plan with this, because I think the fibres are just so short. I think once it's plied, it's really, really strong, which I've probably said about 6 times before, haven't I? But yeah, it is really, really strong. So I think plying is definitely the answer. And I'm going to hope that I'm going to have enough to make this project that I have in mind. Okay, it is possible to spin this without having damp fingers, but just that little bit of moisture just makes it go a lot better. Right, well, I'm going to carry on with this and I'll come back to you when I'm plying, which may be later on today, it may be tomorrow. I kind of will have to see how this afternoon goes. We're losing the light very rapidly, and I have to take the little squiggly dog out. So I'm not sure whether I shall get all this done today. Anyway, I'll come back to you, and I might actually ply this evening, so I might not actually show you plying. We'll see how it goes. So I've got one little roll out to go, and I really have found my rhythm with this a lot more. And I can see that with practice, this is going to get better and easier, and I'm going to have a much more consistent yarn because it's a little bit lumpy and bumpy at the moment. And some of that is because there's kind of slightly lumpy, bumpy bits of fibre in here because of the kind of just the nature of stinging nettles, I guess. But yeah, the light is going rapidly, and I have got one of Andrew's photography lights to kind of light up what I'm doing. But I think for kind of recording the plying, I don't think there's going to be enough light. So that might be something that you'll just have to trust that I've done kind of clockwise. Really desperately losing the light. Can't really see what I'm doing. So I will come back to you tomorrow. Ta-da! One little skein of spun Himalayan nettle fibre, and I've learnt an awful lot. I have got this stuff that I spun last week, and that was very much a worsted spin, and it's much, much finer, but it's not as soft. And I guess you'd expect that because I obviously messed the fibres up a bit because I put them on the hand cards. So this was very much an experiment, and I've really enjoyed it. So these were quite short fibres because it had been turned into a comb top. So I'm thinking, though, is it toe fibres they would be called? Obviously, flax spinners will be able to tell me if I'm right or wrong. Now, what I have seen on YouTube and all over the place is people line spinning, where they're using the really, really long fibres that look very similar to flax. Now, I can get Himalayan nettle fibre that has been kind of prepared in that way. I don't own a distaff. I have been looking for a second-hand distaff for an Ashford traditional for ages. So if you know anybody that's got one and would like to sell one, let me know. I've also been looking for a new one, actually, just thinking, well, I can't find a second one, I'll just buy a new one. And I don't seem to be able to find anybody in the UK that's stocking it. So if you know someone that stocks the Ashford traditional distaff, let me know, because you can just put them on the front legs. They're kind of the thing I love about the Ashford traditional is you can kind of bolt all sorts of bits onto it, and you can apparently put a distaff on. Okay, so I'm going to give you some close-ups of that, and there's only one thing left to say. Until next time, tread your own path, my friend.